If you're new to final expense sales and you've decided that you absolutely want to sell on a face-to-face or belly-to-belly basis, this video is definitely for you. In my first 3 years of selling final expense insurance, I wrote over $1 million of annualized premium, all while traveling throughout the whole state of Florida, staying in some not so wonderful hotel rooms, and would average working like right around 12 to even sometimes more than 15 hours a day due to all of the driving time. You see, I lived in between Miami and Fort Lauderdale, which, believe it or not, guys, were not good areas to produce final expense sales in, and at least not at the level in which I wanted to on a face-to-face basis. My initial goal was to make at least $200,000 per year, which wasn't gonna happen if I limited myself by only working in the local areas, local leads. And yes, before I share my first tip for new agents, this is the perfect time to smash down on that like button. And if you're new to our channel, please subscribe. We're putting out new insurance sales content and final expense training videos like all the time. And if you'd like a copy of my presentation prop file, this bad boy has all the props that I use in my face-to-face presentations. And just stick around until the end of the video and I'll show you how to get this sucker for yourself. Tip numero uno, you gotta be open to driving at least a few hours away and working leads in areas that are, well, maybe more rural. In other words, some cities can work for some agents, but in my experience, most face-to-face, final expense sales are made in either African American communities or in like rural areas like all across the states. Allow me to give you a couple of examples of the type of consumers to absolutely avoid. People that live in condominiums are not our target market. Most of them are like settled down with like this planned retirement. Therefore, they've worked, most of their lives to save up their money for their condominium. They live like a middle class, almost posh lifestyle. At least it's posh compared to a majority of the people that I've sold to. And guys, since these folks live in condominiums, due to like security, etc., they're really difficult to get to when you need to door knock the lead. Guys, people in gated communities, I suggest absolutely avoiding them for the same reasons. I mean, look, if there's like a gated community or two that maybe is smack dab like in the middle of some of the areas that you're working, not much you can do, right? You got to take the good with the bad. But if there's like a certain zip code that maybe has several gated communities in it, I would try to avoid that zip code as much as possible. And basically, I'd pull it out of, however I'm getting my leads, I'd make sure they don't target that zip code. Tip number 2, since most of your sales will probably come from leads that you door knock, you need to become a master at the art of door knocking final expense leads. And yes, you should definitely have at least one phone day per week where, you spend the whole day dialing through your leads over and over and over and over, setting like as many appointments as humanly possible. However, if you're doing this right, you should definitely be spending like more time out in the field running appointments and door knocking leads than the amount of time you spend on the phone setting appointments. Well, of course. Okay, let's talk a little bit about leads. Now, whatever type of leads that you are using is fine. However, I don't recommend working leads that have been shared or worked by other agents. Look, to me, the last thing that I want is to be stuck with someone else's leads of people that those agents couldn't sell, especially if you're new to the business. Direct mail leads are no longer the king of leads in most parts of the country. Unfortunately, the ROI, the return on investment, just isn't there the way it was just a few years ago. My suggestion is to find a couple of good internet and or maybe Facebook lead vendors where you can get the leads for the cost effectiveness has to be there. They got to be like maybe $15 or less each, and then go back and forth between each lead vendor. I also recommend working no less than at least, I want to say, a minimum of 40 or maybe 50 fresh, and they got to be exclusive, again, every single week. That's the right amount of leads to work. You're going to need that many. Spending at least like $700 or $800 per week is normal if you intend on making, how do I say, $1,000 or $2, per week. That's just the bottom line. You got to spend money to make the money. If you want to make at least $100,000 net per year, you're most likely going to need to spend, I want to say, maybe around $1,000 or even possibly more than $1,500 each week. Now, let's talk a little bit about starting out as a captive agent versus, what I believe is a truly independent agent. And FYI, if you're working with one of those big multi-level marketing insurance agencies where the name of the company has like 3 initials or maybe even some of them have 4 initials, you're probably not really an independent agent. But that's a conversation for another video, right? If you're brand new and never sold life insurance before, you might be better off working with an insurance company that is really like a truly captive situation, as most of them have their own product. So instead of you marketing, like selling multiple final expense carriers and products, you're only selling one thing. Companies like Lincoln Heritage and or Senior Life of Georgia come to mind. And both companies have very simple applications. The underwriting is pretty lenient and the products are usually simple to learn how to sell. The downside of working for one of these companies is that in most cases, yes, they will make you feel like you're working for them, which is fine if you're new and learning the trade. You got to take the good with the bad, right? However, both of these companies are notorious for having very expensive rates for the clients, and they're just not very competitive price-wise. As with being an independent agent, you have multiple carriers to work with, so you have a lot more flexibility with selling clients who maybe have specific health conditions, and you're in the position where you're able to get more people like first day coverage and sell more folks life insurance products that are priced out better and more affordable for those people. Here's your final expense pro tip of the day. If you're a talented closer and the right type of person who excels at sales, you are probably better off selling final expense insurance over the phone than selling final expense on a face-to-face basis. Nowadays, telesales is definitely the way to go, especially since you can buy one of those Facebook calendar funnel systems from a bunch of different companies, which the thing is, with this type of leads system, you can literally have like 20 to over 30 appointments every single day, which should turn in, how do I say this? At least maybe 6 to even 10 full presentations each day. At least that's what we're able to do for our agents using our Top Producer Calendar Appointments Final Expense Sales platform. Guys, if you'd like a copy of the presentation prop file that I mentioned earlier in this video, just email me at doug@ufesonline.com. If you'd like more information on selling final expense insurance through any of our platforms, just shoot me an email at that same address. Very important. When you put the needs of your clients first, everything else will usually fall right into place. Now get out there or get on that phone and do something good for someone today, will you? Happy hunting.